you are not going to want to use. Oh, did not see you there. But now that I got your attention, guys, time to announce the new collection has dropped on the Guy Boston Sports Shop, FadeMe.store. Head to FadeMe.store or GuyBostonSports.com/store and pick up one of the new items, the Gambler Football 25 collection, premium hoodie, premium crew neck, and we have 2 hats available as well in multiple colors. Speaking of those hats, if anyone does purchase a premium hoodie or a premium crew neck, you will get one of the hats, like the foam mesh back trucker hat here, for 50% off. Oh, like I said, we have 2 hats, right? How about the rope hat, guys? These things are premium. They're awesome. Go ahead and check it out. FadeMe.store or GuyBostonSports.com/store. Take you to the same place. Pick this stuff up. It's legit. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Week number 7 here in the NFL. We got Thursday night football. Bengals taking on the Steelers. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you want to hop on board and ride with me, or if you do want to fade me, all of that is going to be absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. Now, in terms of how we did in week number 6, yet again, a profitable week in the NFL. The primetime games, not so much. So I don't know what that says about this Thursday night video, but it was another hammering of a Sunday. We go 6-1. You know what? One more damn cha-ching there. 6-1 on Sunday, catapulting us to another profitable week. If we look at just Thursday night football, yeah, A.J. Brown, over 4.5 receptions. That was the only thing that really went our way in that Thursday night football game. But let's hope to do a little bit better in this one. Like I mentioned, we got the Bengals, we have the Steelers. Let's jump into it, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, drop all of your favorite plays down in the comments. I tell you guys all the time, it's not just for me. I'm curious. I want to know what the community's rolling with and riding with, but it's not just for me. You're also helping out a ton of other people that are looking for some additional plays and some nice insights on today's game. So go ahead and drop your favorite plays and why down in the comments. But we got the Bengals here at home, 5.5-point dogs, total sitting at 42.5. I've seen some 43.5s out there, but as always, guys, these odds are subject to change. Now, the Bengals coming into this one, not exactly playing the best football in the world, right? 4 straight losses. They do have a new quarterback, which we'll talk about. Joe Flacco had his first game with the team last week, but to no avail, right? It was a 27-18 loss for the Bengals there to Green Bay. Pittsburgh, 3 straight wins. They beat New England, they beat Minnesota, had the bye, and then beat Cleveland. 23-9 last week. They're now 4-1 this season, which is obviously pretty damn good. The Aaron Rodgers experiment might be working as of right now. Has it been all him or anything like that? No, not entirely, but 4-1 is 4-1, right? Now, one thing that I will mention here is the strength of schedule. I feel the need to call this out. The Bengals, in terms of, win percentage of the teams and strength, even victory, which I would rather focus on strength of schedule here, but even still, they tell the same story. Cincinnati has the 3rd hardest strength of schedule so far this season. Pittsburgh, 29th. Does that have something to do with their records? Probably, but I don't think there's any denying that the Steelers team is probably the better team overall. But that's what we're going to talk about here. We'll talk about the Bengals, their offense against the Steelers defense. We'll flip it. We'll talk about the Steelers offense versus the Bengals defense. We'll get into our spread lean, our total lean, a couple plays within there as well, and then we'll close out with some player props. So let's go ahead and do just that. Let's dive into this Bengals offense, who, as of right now, isn't exactly the best team out there, right? Averaging just 17.2 points per game. Yes, they bring in Joe Flacco, but even still, he scored 18 points last week, pretty much on par with what they've been doing. Overall, though, we're probably going to see a decent amount of man coverage here from this Pittsburgh squad, which isn't exactly the best story for Joe Flacco. In terms of his completion percentage, it goes from 61.3% against zone all the way down to 55% against man. His interception rate is at 6.3% on the season. DVOA at -61.3, EPA at -33.5. Now, one thing that I will say is, obviously he's on a new squad, right? Like, these numbers are Joe Flacco as a Brown and now one game of him as a Cincinnati Bengal. He had a decent enough game last week there against Green Bay. When I say decent enough, okay? I don't want to go too much farther than that, but he was 29 of 45. Obviously, he had to chuck the ball a ton. 219, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like I said, I'm not trying to write home about him, but decent enough here. The biggest call for concern here, I would say, is going to be the pressure and the blitz. Right now, after 6 weeks but 5 games of Pittsburgh, they're 12th in terms of pressure rate and 4th in terms of blitz rate. Yards per attempt dive down against the pressure, 3.5 for Joe Flacco, 4.5 against the blitz, but still not all that great. The completion percentage gets horrendous, 40.9 versus pressure, 45.9 against the blitz. The interception percentage is up there. The DVOA is scary bad, and the EPA tanks against pressure, a little bit better versus blitz, but still not all that great. So I think the pressure is going to be the thing that really is a concern. And I mentioned how the Steelers, are top 12 in terms of pressure rate, top 4 in terms of blitz rate, but it really doesn't stop there. We also have them being, I believe, 2nd in adjusted sack percentage, 2nd in QB hit percentage, top 10 in clean pocket percentage, 8th best time to pressure. This Steelers defense that really hasn't even played what I would consider its best football yet. Maybe you can argue last week, but still, this is a team that prides himself on defense. They haven't looked all that phenomenal. They may be starting to hit the ground running. That bye week may have been huge, a game against the Browns. I think this Steelers defense is legit as we knew it. We just were kind of fooled for a few weeks there, but I think they can give Joe Flacco some serious issues there in terms of the pressure. I do think that they'll get to him, and obviously this is Joe Flacco right now, not mobile. He's an older guy, but he has the Cincinnati offensive line now, and this is with any quarterback that has played for them this year. 4th most pressures, 5th in terms of the worst clean pocket percentage, 3rd in QB hit percentage. The math is mathing here for Joe Flacco to not exactly be all that comfortable. Now, if we take a peek at the run game, this is obviously a run game, and when I say obviously, if you don't know, this is an offense that's ranked 32nd in the league in yards per game, 56.7. They're 2nd worst in terms of yards per carry at 3.1. That isn't exactly the best news, right? Now, Pittsburgh ranks 15th in yards per carry, and you're probably thinking, oh, okay, well, they can go out there and, most likely run the ball to some degree. I'm not exactly sure. I wouldn't, hang my hat on that. This is a Pittsburgh team that, overall, they're going to see a ton of man duo runs from Cincinnati, right? Against man duo, 8th best in terms of EPA, 9th in terms of EPA per attempt, 11th best DVOA, and 9th best in terms of explosive run percentage. So the way Cincinnati runs the ball, I don't exactly see being all that successful against this Pittsburgh defense that, again, I'm kind of starting to believe in and trust what we kind of thought at the beginning of the year, that this is still a very, very good defense. Now, they do have an injury on the defense here. I believe Darius Slay is questionable. Also, Calvin Austin on offense is questionable. In terms of offensive injuries for the Bengals, Mike Gesicki is listed as out. So, few minor notes there, but worth discussing. So I don't necessarily sit here and think that this Bengals team is going to move the ball all that successfully. So yeah, maybe they're not going to put up a big number, but if we flip over now to the Steelers offense against this Bengals squad, what are we seeing there? Now, before we do that, guys, I want to talk to you about Underdog. If you have not checked out Underdog yet, get out from the rock that you're living under and go check out one of the most fun and entertaining platforms out there to get some additional action on the game. I have a link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. If you do want to check it out, you're going to get a great deal. First and foremost, play $5, get $50 in bonus funds. Boom, instantly. 10x that $5 lineup. Secondarily, you're going to get a gimme pick. Jaylen Warren here, 0.0 rushing yards, receiving yards. If he gets 1 yard of offense from scrimmage in this game, that square cash is over on Underdog. Go ahead and click that link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment, or scan the QR code on your screen right now. All right, so let's talk about this Pittsburgh offense. Aaron Rodgers, like I said, maybe the experiment's working. I think he's actually been pretty decent. Him and DK I do like as a combo. But in terms of offense so far to start the year, 23.8 points per game, kind of middle of the pack, 24th in passing yards per game. The rushing hasn't been all that great, but they're going up against a Cincinnati defense here that is allowing over 30 points per game. They're getting passed all over, rushed all over. So will this be a good spot for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers? Should be a decent mix of man and zone from Cincinnati. I would say for Aaron Rodgers' sake, he probably does hope that it's going to be more zone than man. Like Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers actually has looked really good against zone this year. 9.6 yards per attempt, completion percentage at 77%, interception rate at just 1.6, EPA 11.6, and a DVOA in the positives, right? You look at it versus man, those same numbers here. Now, yards per attempt are cut in more than half, 4.2. Completion percentage drops down below 60%. You have his interception rate quadruple, his EPA 11.6 compared to 2.4, and DVOA suffers as well. So yeah, maybe Cincinnati knows that, but I don't necessarily know if they have the personnel to say, hey, we're going to play you man-to-man all game here. You know what I mean? So I would say that they're probably going to lean a little bit into zone, which if they did lean one way this year, it would be that. But again, for Aaron Rodgers' sake, I think he's hoping that they play zone, and I think this is a good, definitely not great, but good enough situation for him. The biggest plus for Rodgers in this spot is the fact that this is not a Cincinnati team that will most likely pressure him. 20th in pressure rate, 30th in blitz rate, which is good news for him because he has, again, like Joe Flacco, really struggled against pressure and against blitz this season. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that they're both a million years old, right? This is also, a spot for Cincinnati who allow a clean pocket and all that stuff. So essentially, Aaron Rodgers, though he may not love the coverage, I don't think he's going to be fully uncomfortable back there, like we said Joe Flacco might, right? Now, this is a Steelers team that's been pretty damn good in the red zone. They ranked 6th in terms of red zone TD conversion percentage, going up against a Bengals squad that is 3rd worst. 71.5% of the time when the opposition gets into the red zone against the Bengals, not saying they're scoring, I'm saying they're scoring a touchdown. That ain't the best news, right? Because you do have Aaron Rodgers, a guy that can definitely manage the game, facilitate an offense, gets in a red zone against a really soft defense. I'd be a little concerned if I was Cincinnati. But let's talk about the run game here, because I don't think that, we've given our flowers, I guess, to Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think there's any flowers deserving to go to this Steelers squad on the ground. 3rd fewest yards per carry to start the season, 14th in success rate, 13th fewest yards before contact, 8th fewest in terms of explosive runs. So yeah, not exactly the best of the best from them. The one thing that I will say, they are a top 10 team in terms of run offense DVOA, and it does make sense. DVOA taking everything, not just the numbers as we see them, into consideration. They've gone against the Jets, not exactly the best defense, but enough playmakers there. Seattle, good defense. New England, decent enough defense. Minnesota, good defense. Cleveland, the best run defense in the league, arguably, right? So I do think that they deserve a little bit of a leash, but the numbers are the numbers, right? This is a team that realistically has not gotten the ball rolling whatsoever. 29th in rushing yards per game, 30th in rushing yards per carry. Yeah, they're just barely 0.3 yards per carry better than the Cincinnati offense. That said, and I feel like I'm saying that said a lot because there's a lot of give and take in this game. Oh, that looks like it might be a soft spot. That said, or however, but don't go too fast, right? There are a decent amount of spots that we can look at from this Pittsburgh team and how they run the ball that may be fairly successful overall. First and foremost, Bengals are allowing a ton of yards on the ground, but specifically against the outside zone and the man run schemes. Coincidentally, that is what this Pittsburgh team runs. They don't run inside zone. That's really the only thing that the Cincinnati team has been decent at stopping. They're top 10 in terms of yards per carry against with the inside zone. Steelers don't even run the inside zone at a top 10 clip. So outside zone and man looks are what they're going to run, and that's where Cincinnati struggles. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is an offense that does kind of chug along down the field with Aaron Rodgers in a good, not great spot. But Jaylen Warren now getting healthier, right? Obviously, I have Gainwell Johnson, but I do think Jaylen Warren's the guy. I think this team can move the ball on the ground against a really bad defense, right? Like, that wouldn't shock me whatsoever. And speaking of really bad defense, it's obviously a lot worse without Hendrickson, and he is injured here. Now, played last week, but was not seen participating in Monday's practice. So We'll see. Obviously, it's really, really early in the week and things can change. But if he doesn't play, that's just another big name from their defense that goes down. So it's pretty clear where we may be leaning at this point. I do think the Steelers, so this is our spread lean here, Steelers do have the upper edge. I believe they're the better team. I think that they have the better quarterback, even though I'm not really slighting Joe Flacco. He's just in a terrible situation here. And the biggest thing to note is I really do believe, if anything, this Steelers defense is going to get better and better and better and show that they, still are one of the better defenses with some of the better defensive playmakers in the league. So I like the Steelers in this spot. 5.5 points is a decent amount. I will totally give you that. That 5.5 points is a lot, but I could see it happening. If we were to roll with something like that, there's another thought that kind of crosses my mind. With the defense in mind, there may be some same game parlay potential here, with we take an alternate line on the Steelers, maybe like 2.5 or something like that, and take a peek at the Bengals team total over and marry the two, right? Because I would be pretty shocked. Now, I've been wrong before, hence why we have a brand called, obviously, Fade Me. I'd be shocked if this was an absolute shootout, right? That doesn't seem like the type of game that we're going to get here. So why not say, okay, Steelers, maybe that 5.5 is a little bit too big. We can knock it down a little bit. And then the way you're going to cover that is probably playing some defense, making it tough on Joe Flacco. So maybe that's a thought there. If we do look at the total, I just said I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers do move the ball and maybe a couple drives here and there. Joe Flacco goes out there and looks good, but still, would a 24-17 type of game shock anybody here on Thursday night or anything like that? No. So I am slightly going to lean towards the under. I think it's going to be fairly cold, like at game time, below 60 degrees there. So yeah, maybe that's something that's worth noting overall as well, right? Now let's jump into some player props here. And the first one, I've already kind of mentioned it, Jaylen Warren. Now, right now, you can still get him over 44.5. I like that. I do believe by game time, most books are going to come right up to this 40.5 number. So if you're watching this early, maybe that's something to jump on board with. I still don't mind, around 50 yards for Jaylen Warren. Now, he's been injured. He did play last week, and he had 52 yards, right? Not exactly all that tremendous. I mean, he only had 11 rush attempts, but still, even with him missing a couple weeks, he's still leading this backfield. And with Caleb Johnson, who I do believe in as a young player, I still do believe it's Jaylen Warren's, backfield, because Kenneth Gainwell is more the scat back. He's not going to be the guy that takes up those workhorse bulk run into the line type carries. So I like Jaylen Warren in this spot, especially if this is going to be a team that is running a lot because they're winning or because they're up, or again, because this is a Cincinnati team that stinks at defending the ground. So yeah, I like the spot here for, finally, I guess you could say, for this Pittsburgh team to kind of get the ball rolling on the ground. Flip it over, Chase Brown, under 44.5 rush yards. This can go one of two ways. I do believe the Steelers' defense is very good, right? And, they're only allowing 89.2 rushing yards per game overall. You could see previous guys against them. It's been kind of hit or miss this season. But one or two ways. Either Chase Brown starts to not get as many attempts because they are losing, right? And they're down by a bunch. Joe Flacco's slinging it. That's why they got Joe Flacco. So that's one scenario, or this is a really, really close game, and I believe it's only close because the Pittsburgh defense is really stepping up and their offense hasn't really done too much. Again, I'm kind of against the idea that this is a shootout. When we watch this game, it's going to be like 51-47, and I'm going to look like the biggest idiot because it's a shootout, in fact. But no, I don't see it going that way. I don't mind Chase Brown's under. Now, I could also be convinced of his rushing attempts under. You can get under 13.5. And yeah, this season, other than that game against Jacksonville, they've stayed under this line. And again, this is also game script-esque, right? If they are going to have to throw the ball, which you could see they throw the ball a ton here, 67% of the time, number one passing team in terms of frequency in the league. If they're going to be losing, they're going to be throwing the ball. He's not going to get the carries. Now, even if we look at, who's getting the carries, Chase Brown, P. Ryan, that doesn't exactly make you feel all that good that P. Ryan's the only one that could steal some carries. But in fact, we've seen Samaje Perine steal some snaps lately. So I don't mind Chase Brown's unders. Another under that I'm considering here is going to be Darnell Washington, who I believe played 90% of the snaps 2 weeks ago and a bunch of snaps 2 games ago and then a bunch of snaps in their last game. But I do like his under 11.5 for his longest reception. Now, He had a 36-yard reception last week. I get it. But this is a guy, even last year, who only hit this 4 out of 18 games. And in this spot, while I do think he may play a decent amount of snaps, same sort of game script as to why I might like it. I think that he being the massive, by the way, if you guys don't know, this guy is a massive human, right? He's like 6'7", 270 tight end. He might be really involved in a lot of the run game because this Cincinnati team, I believe, is set in 4-3 a decent amount, and they might want to start moving some guys at the line, almost with an additional offensive lineman, especially if they are running the ball a decent amount. So yeah, he may play a lot, but for him to go out there and get a 12-yard catch, he'd need some volume. And realistically, even at his receptions line, right, over 2.5. So they're saying at over 2.5, 3 catches, it's plus 135. If you're telling me that it's more likely that he gets 2 catches, I can say, okay, well, one of them is going to be, I don't believe one of them will be 12 yards or longer. So those are 3 player prop spots that I'm looking at as of right now. If we do kind of want to talk about Joe Flacco, I don't mind the idea of him attempting the ball a ton, but my problem here is his yards line being set where it is a little bit too high. But for 40 attempts, 37.5 for plus 105, if this game goes according to plan, then sure, maybe I could get behind that. But again, his passing yards at 232, like, I could see Joe Flacco having a game in which he throws it a bunch, but still throws for like 230, hitting the under, right? So overall, that was another one I considered, but I just couldn't necessarily get behind it. I don't mind the idea of interceptions either. Do we have that on here as of right now? Him to throw an interception, I definitely don't mind. He didn't last week, but this is a Steelers team that is, obviously causing a bunch of turnovers, but number 1 in terms of interceptions force. So would it be shocking to me if they go out there and throw a pick? No, look at that. We have Darnold, Drake May, Carson Wentz all threw a pick. Dylan Gabriel last week, the only guy that didn't throw a pick. Funnily enough. But those are some player prop spots that I'm considering here today. Guys, keep an eye on the final plays down in the pinned comment. If we add anything or change anything, that's how I'll let you know. That's the Bible down there, right? Go ahead and check it out. Again, that is down in the pinned comment. But that's what we have. To recap, I do like the Steelers on the side. I like the under, but more so like a Cincinnati team total under. And then we had Jaylen Warren, his overs. I like Chase Brown's unders. Darnell Washington, I really only like his under longest reception. And then Joe Flacco, kind of considered, because I could see them saying, hey, go sling the damn ball. You know what I mean? And obviously a guy that played the Steelers a lot in his career, I could see that as well. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 22 down below. Really do appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.